Well, we are now being joined from Arise Abuja studio by Professor Usman Yusuf, a professor of hematology oncology and bone marrow transplantation. Professor Yusuf is also a former executive secretary, National Health Insurance Scheme. The topic on the table this morning is not medical health, but the health of the nation and indeed the entire West African region. It's so good to have you on the morning show, Professor Yusuf. Good morning,
Thank you very much for having me.
Good morning. Good morning,
Thank you.
Good morning.
So we're talking about the health of the nation now, and one of the major topics we're talking about is food inflation and how a lot of Nigerians are hungry. Do you think the current administration is doing enough to treat our food insecurity issues in the country?
Good morning, all. It's not doing at all. It's doing nothing. The primary problem is that it doesn't even understand the cause. It's in denial. The primary cause of what we are going through today is the recklessness of this government and this president by suddenly removing fuel subsidy on the day he was inaugurated, without looking at the balance sheet of the country, without consulting, and without knowing what the problems are. Flippantly, on May 29th, just removed fuel subsidy without having any fallback plans. You don't do that, and that's why we're going through all of this. Price of food is going up. Inflation, as at yesterday, was 29.9. The dollar, when they came to the naira, was 680. Today is 1,500. Everything is going up. And they are surprised because they don't have a plan. And I said it from the outset that in August last year, that Tinubunomics is nothing but a very painful pill for everybody to die. And people are dying. This president started this policy before he even assembling his team. It clearly showed that the president was being advised by shadowy, armchair, theoretical economists that know little or nothing about the sufferings of our people. And we all know all this policy is just a prescription they got from the World Bank in Washington, D.C. They got a prescription. And that prescription is killing our people. We've been raising our voices, telling the president and the governors. The president looks like he's just drowning. And the economic team, all they are doing is like flailing their arms as if they are drowning. I saw the three economic team the other day on TV at the National Assembly, and I was a lot more depressed than when it started. The Minister of Finance, the Central Bank Governor, and the FIRS boss. The honest truth is that they do not know how to get out of this mess. This self-inflicted pain they've put this nation through. They don't know how to get us out of it. And we are warning them. And we do not see what Martin Luther King referred to as the fierce urgency of now from this government to get us out of this mess. We are in serious trouble. Everything must stop. There is hunger in the land. Democracy means nothing to a hungry, angry, homeless man or woman. What they are doing is akin to a doctor coming into a room, patient's room, and just looking at the numbers. Oh, the blood pressure is this, the pulse is this, instead of looking at the patient. They have no connection with our people. Our people are suffering. Millions of people, predominantly women and children, go to bed hungry in this country of plenty. Nigeria has no reason to be poor. Nigeria is not a poor country, but our wealth is in the hands of a few. And we see that, even the cost of governance. They are living as if it is 1999. Our people are dying. That is why in the north, we had the voices of our traditional rulers. And they should take it seriously. You remember when the First Lady visited the Emir of Kano 2 weeks ago? the Emir of Kano told her, go and tell Mr. President that our people are suffering. There is hunger in the land. It was a coded message, because if the president does not read the papers, if he does not go through social media, if his advisors would not tell him the truth, the Emir was telling the wife, go and tell Mr. President. As a follow-through, all traditional rulers in the north met in Kaduna 3 days ago, and they came out with a screaming headline all papers took 3 days ago, read by the Sultan of Sokoto. This country is sitting on a keg of gunpowder, and there is nothing more they can do to stop the anger of their people. They've run out of excuses. In the north, our traditional rulers are the last bus stop. When they start talking, leaders need to sit up and listen. We're in big trouble. Our traditional rulers and our clerics, 2 days ago, yesterday, the sermons in all the mosques in the north, people are suffering. There is hunger in the land. People are dying in the midst of plenty. Leaders sit up. Any leader who does not listen to the sufferings of his people does so at his own peril. What we are afraid of, we're not afraid of what is going to happen to politicians. We're afraid is what is going to happen to our country, Nigeria. This country we love dearly. This country that has given us more than we have given back. This country that has been formed on the blood and sweat and tears of our leaders past. No reckless politician is going to break this country up by his recklessness and not listening to the concerns of the people.
All right,
there
Prof.
is hunger in the land.
All right.
All is not well.
All right, Prof. We heard you loud and clear, but I also know that you may not be a very big fan of the president. You probably didn't support his aspiration when he was trying to be the president of Nigeria. But of course, he's now the president, and you are looking at issues in terms of his policies. Now, you've used the example of the Emir of Kano sending a coded message to the president through his wife, the First Lady. But of course, you're also aware that the predecessor to the Emir of Kano, SLS, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, has also come in defense of the president, stating clearly that what is happening is not the fault of neither the president nor this administration, and that the seed for what we are witnessing today was sown during the Buhari administration. It doesn't sound to me like you have any blames whatsoever for the previous administration and what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu met on the ground. All I heard you say is that this is a reckless government who is not listening to the yearnings of the people. But this is the same president that has declared emergency on food insecurity. It's the same president that has asked that everything needed to be done in terms of making food available should be done. But up north, you have governors like Bago in Niger, whose answer to what is happening is to say that no truck with food items should be allowed to come down south. But you are putting all the blames on the president without seeming to address the entire issues affecting food insecurity in Nigeria. What else would you like the president and this administration to do?
Right, good. Emilio Khan, he's the one who said he could do it. It's his turn. This is not the turn of President Muhammadu Buhari. We spent 8 years criticizing President Muhammadu Buhari. We're tired. And I honestly don't want to even hear his name. He has messed this country up. And you, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, said, "Is Emilio Khan, is my turn. I can do it." There is a saying that leaders have forfeited the right to make any excuses. It's your turn. It's not President Muhammadu Buhari that took away fuel subsidy flippantly. It is you. And you bear all the consequences of that reckless policy. So, It is you that we and God Almighty will hold responsible for whatever happens secondary to all your policies. It's not President Muhammad Buhari or Jonathan. You can do it. You said it's your turn. Now do it. Leaders have forfeited the right to make excuses. And the way they are going about it, they are doing nothing. Let me tell you, it is the cause, the reason is inflation. It's not because there is no food in the market. It's inflation. When this party came in 2015, a bag of rice, 50 kilos of rice was 7,500. Yesterday I went to the market, it was 70,000. Maize, 60,000. How much is the minimum wage? 30,000. How much does a soldier in the war front earn? 50,000. How much does the police recruit earn, constable earns? About that. They cannot even buy rice. 30,000 in those who work. What is the percentage of Nigerians that work? So, Mr. President, sit up. This is no time for excuses. Leaders have forfeited the right to make excuses. And the way they are doing it is, they're thinking of price control. They are thinking of busting warehouses. Hello, I'm old enough to have seen 14 administrations. Clearly, from that of General Yakubu Gowon to currently President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We in 1984, I was a young doctor, 2 years out of medical school. President General Muhammadu Buhari followed the same thing. Price control, busting warehouses. Where did it take us? They haven't learned anything in 40 years. They haven't learned anything in 40 years. Yesterday, NLC, the president of NLC, Joe Ajero, said, you can give $1 million to workers if inflation keeps eating that up. You are not going to achieve what you need to achieve. The primary problem is the runaway inflation. The economy is out of control. The managers of our economy, they are drowning. They don't know what to do. They are the ones that cause the deterioration of the exchange rate of the naira, the inflation we see, and the cost of food and everything in the market. It is not availability. There is food in the market. What I call on all the governors of this country and the president, everything should stop still. This is no time to build bridges or flyovers. This is the time to open the treasury and buy food and give food to the people and subsidize food. The only way you can crash down the price of food is bring down inflation. But these guys don't know how to do it. But flood the market with subsidized food. I lived in the United States forever. Everywhere in the world there is subsidy on food. You go to the supermarket, everything has tax. But food item does not have tax. Why? Because leaders of those countries know that hunger in any land has national security implications. But apparently, the national security team of this president and the president himself do not see the national security implications of hunger in the land. There is food in the land. The state and the federal government should open the treasury, buy food, import food, ship food into this country. There is an emergency, and feed our people. Their salaries cannot pay for food, cannot pay for rent, cannot pay for school fees. People are dying in the land. They are here in Abuja buying SUVs. With our compliant National Assembly, that says nothing. We are raising our voices the moment you hear our traditional rulers. The Oni of Ife said the same. People are suffering. Politicians know nothing about the people. They live with the people. You don't listen to that? You are here creating committees, one committee after the other. They are sitting and drinking tea while people are dying. No, your economic policy is not working. There is hunger in the land. And there is trouble ahead. No nation will have peace if there is hunger in the land. No military, no matter how strong, no police, no matter how strong, can quell the anger of a people that are hungry in the midst of plenty. So I'll call to the president and all the governors, should make food available, forget this price control, forget this busting warehouses, bring in food, buy food from the market and subsidize food for the people while you keep wrestling us out of this economic mess you've put us in.
Okay, thank you so much for that brilliant analysis, Professor Usman. But let's switch gears a bit. Now, considering the historical ties between Nigeria and Niger Republic, particularly in terms of trade and food supply, how do you anticipate the ongoing sanctions affecting food security and inflation rates? And what measures do you believe should be taken to mitigate those effects? Also, given your extensive experience in government negotiation terms, what strategies do you believe that Nigeria should employ to navigate and potentially resolve this current diplomatic impasse that we're at with now with the Niger Republic over this same airspace sanctions to make sure that we're securing regional stability and stabilizing the ongoing political crisis within ECOWAS?
Right, and we are where we are today because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government botched this negotiation with Niger after the military coup. You remember after the coup, the president unilaterally, as the president of the ECOWAS, unilaterally switched off the electricity supply to Niger based on a treaty 60 years old. Unilaterally switched it off and put sanctions and brought up front what he should have kept as a trump card, brought up front the threat of violence. That if you don't do this, Nigeria is going to attack. He sent his military bosses everywhere to start. And that was what gave this military young men legitimacies in their land. And they stayed entrenched. How can you threaten somebody, a country, your neighbor, and then say, oh, we're going to talk later? At a time when you didn't even have your cabinet, your security chiefs were just getting their feet wet. Unilaterally, you did all this without consultation. Northern Nigeria, people in Niger are our blood brothers and sisters. There are houses, Fulanis, Kanuris everywhere. The border is just artificial. ECOWAS was created 49 years ago by General Yakubu Gowon and his fellow presidents of West Africa then. Next year it will be 50. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 9 months has destroyed what was created 49 years ago, what has lasted 49 years. Because of lack of consultation, because of hubris. 7 states of the Federation in the north, from Kebbi to Borno, have borders, common borders with Niger Republic. People have been suffering. We have been screaming our voices and saying people have been suffering in these border communities because of closure of medicines were not going in, food supply was not going in. This is not the first time. There were several coups in Niger Republic. Leaders past navigated that and found a way to resolve it as big brothers. As big brothers. Now what he has done, this botched diplomacy, what he's done, it has pushed this young coups in Niger, in Mali, and Burkina Faso. Say, we're leaving. How can you be at peace? How can you sleep with your 2 eyes closed when you're fighting with your neighbor? Niger is not only related to us linguistically and by heritage, but security-wise, they play a pivotal role in securing Nigeria and in helping fight banditry and Boko Haram in the northeast. And they are part of the multinational joint task force. You didn't consider all of that. You didn't consider the impact on your citizens. You just did what you did. And now all of a sudden, when these 3 soldiers say we are leaving, we are not interested in ECOWAS, oh, they are running after them. So it was wrong. We are in more difficult security situation with Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso out of the ECOWAS than when they were in. Democracy, diplomacy must continue to bring them back in. The threat of violence is not the right thing to do. Sanctions should be lifted. and diplomacy continuing, because our people in the border states are suffering. Primary responsibility of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not ECOWAS but to his citizens. We've been telling him, we the citizens in the 7 border states, our people have been suffering. He wasn't listening. So you have problems with international diplomacy. You have problems internally with your economy. People are suffering hunger, and you have insecurity, and you're not listening to people. There are too many things for any president just 8 years into his government. Step back, Mr. President, consult widely, open the treasury, bring in food as an emergency, flood the market, and feed our people. That's the only way to find respite. Bring temporary peace in this country before your economic team sort themselves out. Because to be honest, they need to be humble enough to ask for help. They need to be humble enough to ask for help. I don't see them doing it the way, it's all talk, 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 talk. Big grammar will not do it. Consult widely. We cannot continue this way. People are suffering. The naira is deteriorating every day. Inflation going everywhere. People are being pauperized every day. In a country where we have 33 million in multidimensional poverty, this government in one fell swoop has added millions more into extreme poverty. In a country where you have more than 20 million children out of poverty, predominantly in the north, you have added a lot more out of school. How can there be peace in any society like this? And you're spending a lot more money on buying Tucano jets. No military, no matter how powerful, can bomb poverty, can bomb hunger, can bomb grievances. So, listen to us, Mr. President. Nigeria is not in good shape. The ship of state is drifting, and you're not listening to the sufferings of our people. Our emirs in the north and the Oni of Ife, they have told you the pulse of the nation. Listen. Do not listen to your advisors that are telling you anything differently.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So I want to ask something, because yesterday the president nominated his son-in-law as the head of the Federal Housing Authority, which was sparking concerns about nepotism. And previously, the movement of FAN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, certain departments, and departments of the Petroleum Commission have been framed in terms of it being an Emiloko or a Yoruba-centric government. You've also spoken about the issues in Niger and how people in Niger are Hausa and Fulani and Kanuri as well, and are the brothers of people in northern Nigeria. You've also spoken about traditional rulers and clerics coming out to speak about the issues being faced by the people, hunger, insecurity, and particularly in northern Nigeria. Now, my question here is, do you believe that President Tinubu is not sensitive to the issues concerning northern Nigeria? Do you believe he is not prioritizing people in the north? And do you believe that his policies have impacted the north more than they have the south?
Okay, one answer. I mean, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's injection and prescription of suffering is felt all across the country, all across. He has been not helpful to everybody, every Nigerian. Back to your first question. You remember during the time of President Muhammadu Buhari, the southern press, they were talking about Fulanization of Nigeria, Islamization of Nigeria. Well, now it is fair to say we are now at a time where it is Yorubanization of Nigerian economy. Because all ministries, departments, and agencies that control and disburse money, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given it to people of his ethnic group. And he is sneakily moving major MDAs back to Lagos. The excuse they are telling us, or the reasons they are telling us, are congestion. Hello, Lagos, the federal capital was moved from Lagos to Abuja. One of the biggest reasons was congestion in Lagos. And another thing is centrality of Abuja. The government is not telling Nigerians why it's doing all of this moves. Doesn't care. If I have a son, or my daughter, or my wife is working in central bank or whatever, I don't have any in central bank. Because all of these juicy places in Nigeria, they have become places for the children of the politically exposed. Oh yeah, they take the ministry back there, or my wife will remain there, so there will be massive attrition of people in the north in these agencies. And people in the north are seeing, forget whether it's true or not, the president must listen to what the people are saying. People are saying that all these moves are harbingers of things to come. The president's final plan, according to what people are saying, is to move the capital, federal capital, back to Lagos. And people are saying, oh, he's fixing. He's put a lot of money fixing Dodam Barracks, and he'll move back there. Well, you talked about him appointing his son-in-law as the managing director of Federal Housing Authority. And the next day, he pumped this ministry with over 200 billion. This agency with over 200 billion for mass housing. I don't know if there's any other name but reckless impunity and nepotism. If President Buhari had done this, the whole of the southern press will be on him. So, this government, this president is recklessly reckless. He's not listening to the people. And he needs to remember, if Nigerians do not know, 62% of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 8 point something million votes, 62% of those votes came from the north, predominantly from the northwest. He lost Lagos. He's a politician. He lost his home state. 62% of those votes came from the north, predominantly the northwest. So, needs to be careful. He is a politician, and he is working like a one-term president. He's doing like he doesn't care. People that voted you in, predominantly, they are the ones you are sidelining. So these movement of these MDAs to Lagos are not good news for the north.
All right, Prof, just a quick one before we let you go. You've mentioned the pulse of the nation and how traditional rulers are, speaking out. But a lot of people will say that we see more of this from the north and the southwest. Surprisingly, it's been rather curiously quiet from the southeast and the south-south. Will there be a reason for that? And if the agitation for better governance continues in the north and in the southwest, which ordinarily ought to be pro the president, do you think that there is a political implication for the president in all this? Very, very briefly, sir.
Yeah, I honestly don't know why the southeast is quiet, uncharacteristically quiet. But then the president needs to find out. The north is where I know where I live and my heritage is. The silence in the north is more lethal than the noise anywhere else in the country. And the president needs to listen to that. The silence from the north, from the people of the north, in spite of all the sufferings they're going through, is more lethal than people coming out. We are going into the month of Ramadan. People are going to pray. We urge the president, buy food and flood the market and feed the people before things get too late. The whole country is suffering. There is hunger in the land. We hope you listen. Don't listen to your advisors. Bring a lot of money to feed. Don't wait on the governors. Because you gave them 72 billion, 22 billion Each, 72 billion to feed people, 36 states. At the same breath, you gave members of the National Assembly 75 billion to buy cars. That shows your priorities. Your priorities is to make the National Assembly more malleable than the nation. There is trouble in the land, there is hunger in the land. It's our right and responsibility to speak for those that cannot speak, and for the president to sit up and our leaders to sit up. There is trouble ahead. Our traditional rulers have lifted their burden and put it on you. It's time for you to listen. And thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Usman. We appreciate your time and analysis, of course, on The Morning Show.